Portfolio Builder members, today is 6/20. It's Thursday. Our Whale Club trade alert. Yesterday's alert is sitting at the maxed out profit. I expected the market to hit new highs, but not in a single day after the announcement. So we did well in that trade. Likely the maximum profit we will have ever made in that portfolio will occur Friday. And also in this portfolio, we have had a record profit. You can see we went from $87,804 in profits, or 8% ROI. And today, after closing out all the positions and all the put options we'd used to hedge, sold everything, got out of every single part of the trade, and we're up to 8.95%. So that's about a $10,483 profit week over week with that super safe Google trade. Now, if we had just been long Google and Amazon, we would have made a lot more than 0.95%. But of course, this program's much more interested in safe, consistent profits with a lot of downside protection compared to just trying to get lucky and hit stocks. So big return for this portfolio with a very high probability trade. Today's alert is to buy to close our Amazon and Google 6/21/19 covered calls, sell to close our Amazon Google 6/28/19 puts, sell our Amazon and Google shares, and then sell any other long put options that you followed in this program. So I'll go look at the track record. Essentially, I sold everything. I wanted to play this trade for a few more weeks, but the stock's already at all-time highs, and if you've been following our content, I'm highly skeptical that a trade resolution will occur anytime soon. And I think the next step will be to raise tariffs. Especially with Trump now sitting at an all-time high in the stock market, he may be a little extra confident. Also, with the Hong Kong protests, things are going really in his favor right now in terms of that. Plus, he's got the Fed ready to lower rates. If he goes and strikes a trade deal, the chances of the Fed lowering rates is even lower. So this trade makes a lot of sense to me. We're taking on a little more risk than normal, but in this portfolio, we're now all in on the TLT. We're selling an out-of-the-money covered call at the 135. Currently, TLT's at 132.91. So max profit on this will be the credit we take in plus the $2 differential if the TLT were to just go crazy this week. Otherwise, we're taking the credit that we're pulling off of this out-of-the-money call option, which I think will just be a near pure profit. I'm not expecting the TLT to fly up this week, although it certainly could. It is the number one most crowded trade on Wall Street right now, and I think they will continue to push that much higher until a trade deal resolution is really in the books. And I highly doubt that for a number of intrinsic problems in that deal, that they want to Americanize a communist socialist society and take away all of their advantages. So I highly doubt that will happen without a major insurrection from within. So anyhow, the overall trading strategy here is illustrated with this picture. Let me just scroll up a little bit. Okay, so step one is you have to own 100 shares of the TLT. So you can buy any multiple of 100 shares of the TLT, which represents a fund that has a portfolio of the long end of the treasury bonds. So that's the 20-plus year treasury bonds. And we're selling to open one contract per 100 shares, expiring next Friday, June 28th, at the 135 strike. So that gives us about $2 of upside potential before we'd have to sell our shares, plus that premium that we're collecting of 39 cents. Now, of course, if the TLT does go up to 135, we'd have to purchase back that 39-cent credit with a debit that would be greater than 39 cents. But overall, we could make a considerably large profit on this trade in a week if the TLT does go higher. Now, there's not a lot of downside protection on this trade. So right now, we're going to have to be willing to experience a little volatility in this position to be able to realize the potential profit, which I think will be another rush into safe haven assets once it's clear that Trump is going to play hardball with China. Now, on the other hand, if it seems as though Trump wants to kick the can into 2020, just let the markets go wild, remove the tariffs, then I'll quickly get us out of this position. I just don't think he will do that. So I go back, well, if you just look at his history, he's not the sort of fellow who is calm and quiet and patient, rather the opposite. So I expect things to heat up. He wants the Fed to lower rates. He's made that very clear. He wants a great deal with China. China's been very clear that they're not going to take any sort of risk in terms of weakening their Communist Party, number one. And then number two, why would they take advantage, or why would they remove all the advantages they have in the way they do business? So I think until there's some serious pain, that they're going to be very reluctant to make any changes. And if you do listen to President Xi's address to the Communist Party that was publicized and put on YouTube, not only does he feel like they've got a better setup, morally, they think they've evolved the human race and the way to run societies to a much better way than Western societies have done. And his whole plan is to collect all the taxes from his people, which is around 45% tax rate if you make more than $1,000 a month. Plus, they have what they call social insurance, which covers your medical, it covers your housing, all kinds of stuff. That's like another 30% after you look at what the employer has to pay. So these poor Chinese people get paid around $1,000 to $3,000 a month, depending on which city they're living in. 75% of that is taken away. Now, sure, I think the government is providing with just about everything they need to do their job, but they're working for peanuts, and the government's taking some 75% of their money to subsidize their big plans. So anyways, we've seen this a number of times. It never works out well. When you have a socialist communist setup, the problem is corruption and not rewarding the best. So there's no big reward for outthinking everyone. So I think that this is going to end up badly for China. That's why we're taking the credit, which is basically free money from owning the TLT and selling that very far out of the money call option. And I'm investing it in the July 12, 2019 144 strike put option on Alibaba. So they have a lot of trouble ahead. Their stock's already crashed considerably. And so the big story here is that everything's slowing down very rapidly for Alibaba, just like the growth in China is. Their GDP was sitting at 10%. Now it's crashed to 6%. And that's if you believe their numbers. Now, imagine America puts some sanctions all over China in a number of different methods, including the rising tariffs. Their domestic economy is going to start to collapse. That's going to be very tough for Alibaba. So I expect that this trade is going to be very hard to get the timing right. That's why we're not betting big. We're taking free money from owning the TLT. Instead of investing that in a put option on TLT to play it really safe and have some downside protection on this trade from the underlying asset, we're willing to take a little more risk until there's some sign that the trade deal is either going to be kicked down the road or escalate. And if it's delayed, of course, we're going to get out of this trade right away and probably go right back to long Amazon and the short Alibaba. But if things do not take a turn for the better in terms of the trade negotiations, I feel like you're going to see a huge rush into the bonds. The stocks are not going to be able to maintain all-time highs. The Fed will lower rates. That'll push the TLT even higher. And then I think we're going to see some sanctions starting to roll out as early as July against China. Now, that's the current situation where I feel like this is the safest bet for the Whale Club members. Again, we're trying to hit easy first base hits as often as possible with as little risk as possible. So this is the current setup that I feel achieves that. I don't want to be trading Google and Amazon as the S&P 500 has just broken to new highs and there's no trade deal on the table. So that's the current trade alert. We have a deal for members to save a lot of money. In fact, it's a lifetime membership. Normally the Whale Club costs $10,000 a year. Diamond membership is $5,000 a year, and our basic program is now raising the price to $2,000 a year. We have a deal where we will refund your previous orders for a one-time payment of $4,997. So if you're coming to the end of your free trial on either the Diamond program or the Whale program because you purchased the basics product, I highly encourage you to call Dean at 505-322-7515. We're only going to sell 100 of these lifetime memberships to help kickstart the company and really ramp things up. We're really excited. The audience following our trade alerts is growing very rapidly, and we really appreciate all your support. So if you'd like to save a lot of money in the long run, call Dean at 505-322-7515. Again, we'll refund your previous orders and replace it with a one-time fee of $4,997. No more payments for the rest of your life. You'll get all of our programs here on out. So that's a wrap on today's trade alert. A real quick update on the crypto. We're still long crypto, obviously. We believe as long as the trade war is in suspense and escalating, the central banks will continue to lower rates and print money. And so just based on the polar opposites of how China wants to run its economy compared to America, who's focused on trying to westernize China and make it a fair battle in terms of creating products and going to market, I can see this really starting to escalate. So we're still long our same basket of cryptocurrencies, and we'll be following this closely. Again, our recommendation is to have around a 5% position on the Bitcoin relative to your total portfolio. Anything larger than that is crazy and could get wiped out very, very fast. So just think about how fast you've seen Bitcoin crash in the past. And that's the main reason why we don't want to have too big of an allocation. It's such a tiny market cap that just a little bit of selling can create big swings in the price. So that's a wrap for today's alert. We do have a new trade alert for our basic program tomorrow. And our next customer webinar is next Wednesday. So thanks again.